So is that important anymore? Like, I mean, it is good, right? I'm still an old schooler, so it's hard. But I think general knowledge is actually useful, and it's good to know that you don't look like a total crazy. But is it actually important anymore that they memorize all the capitals when they can just look, ask them what's the capital of North Dakota? Bismarck. They can just ask, right? So maybe the more interesting thing to ask them is, what's the story with capital cities? What actually goes on there? Why have capital cities moved, right? Detroit was our capital, moved to Lansing. New York City was the capital, moved to Albany. What happened? Why are these capitals moving? Let's think about that. What do you think is actually going on? Was it for security? Was it because of cost? Was it for... So, can they do critical thinking given, if we just assume that they will have the answers? Actually, this... Oh, look, my razor. Math is very controversial. This comes up all the time, right? Is it important that they learn that? I think yes, because I think it's pretty crazy to not know basic. Like, I do it all the time. Right? I don't know my mortgage payment, calculating property tax. But I think it's fairly important. But is it important long division with 6 decimal places? Those types of things actually important to start thinking about. Saying, let's assume they will have the answer way quicker than if they did it by hand. Let's just assume that. We don't need to spend as much time on that. We need to spend more time on explaining what's exactly going on, the concept of numerator and denominator, etc. So there's a whole new set of stuff that we want them to do. So this is actually very, very hard to do, right? This is an extremely, extremely hard problem because the momentum, inertia, for those of you physics people, is, well, this is what I've done. I've got a book. This is what I do. Linear learning, I do this. I've done this my whole life, right? Plus I've got this whole assessment stick, that I got to deal with. So yes, Cyrus, very interesting that I got this, me for whatever. So the world has changed, right? We communicate very differently. We get information very differently. But our classrooms, we've seen this probably every keynote always shows the 2 classrooms, right? The classroom, right? The teacher in front. 30 kids, 5 rows of 6 just staring at you, right? It kind of looks the same. Now, some of you are actually really amazing teachers, probably. You have, I do group-based and individual, and I have time for all this. It's actually really good. But this concept of standing in front is probably never going to go away, right? There's always, we need teachers, they're critical. So hopefully they're there forever. But this configuration, this way of teaching is probably changing. It's probably changing rapidly. This was, still is to some degree, this is how we learned, right? They were batches of kids, right? This is a class of, should I say it, 94? This is the class that goes out, right? There's the next class, the next class. And we have, at some point, every few years, we'll kind of tweak the curriculum based on tests, etc. And now we have this opportunity to do individualized learning. For those of you guys, and I know this because I've done some work in machine learning and AI, but the algorithms that these products have now is absolutely amazing. There are learning modules that you can get, and not just Google, I'm talking any content anywhere, Apple, whatever. They'll do quick assessments, they'll get a sense for where you are. And then they'll say, all right, it looks like I need to reinforce this general area. Then they'll kind of reinforce that. Then they'll say, you know what, you still don't really get it. It has kind of repositories of here's, you know what, this person, they can actually figure out this person is actually more of an auditory learner than a visual learner. It's actually important. Let me try to find more videos because he tends to do better after I do that, right? So it actually is able to tweak and adapt so that the kid is not only learning on their own, but they're getting reinforced. They're getting everything they would ever need at home without necessarily having, separate tutoring, etc. So you can get extremely individualized learning. Imagine if you're a teacher already, exhausted and grading. If you had to try to give that level of care to each person, it's so hard, right? The best you can do now is do a basic assessment, get a sense for where all your kids are, but it's very hard then to continue to reinforce and learn how do they learn best and adapt automatically. It's actually very, very difficult. And this is, again, a great problem that computers can help you with. And we can, I love this picture. This is a field trip. Although I have to say, we didn't have buses this nice back then. It's apparently got some kind of lever that comes out and the kids don't like walking, so we didn't have any of that. But anyway, field trips are awesome. I hope they don't go away, but